Hello everyone. Today I'm gonna make a little special video. As I posted earlier on Twitter, um, I'm gonna analyze a little bit in depth both gold and DXY because I think they have shown, and we have pretty much been analyzing them in real time. Perhaps my new followers haven't just checked those videos or missed the previous posts many days or weeks ago. So that's why I'm going to use them to see if our analysis is valid or not, has been accurate or not, predicting potential tops or reversals, because that's the same analysis I'm going to use for altcoins and BTC, right? This is not just hindsight TA. I see what has happened and now I try to find an explanation for it. The thinking here is to anticipate the moves, right? Anyone can see and get a conclusion after everything has happened, right? Blow off top, you only know it's a blow off top when it's pretty much over, right? You have to see it before, right? Identify it before, and if you do correctly, you will know that okay, the same way it's going up, it's gonna come down. So I'm not gonna risk holding for too long, then try to exit when everything is dumping, because you will probably uh, lose money, right? So first of all, quick update on BTC, which is the main chart for now. Altcoins, I think it's pointless. I said that a few times. It's pointless to chart them now until BTC comes down and BTC dominance reflects that. It's just as I said some days ago. For now, just pay attention to high highs and high lows and potential RSI MA crosses on the weekly for a potential reversal to know if things are finally moving up again. So I posted today that these are the levels, right? I have updated this chart, 84k, which was the level we were discussing here for quite some time, right? This was the bottom for now with the bullish divergence that we mentioned here, right? To confirm it, we climb back here, hold it. This perfect bounce from here was very telling, which was when I said the reclaim of the 200 moving average in the daily and the 4 hour as well. That's a potential launch pad. Boom, here it is, right? And I also said that hovering around here would mean acceptance at these levels, which was rejected here. Market wasn't ready to bet on these back then, among all the uncertainties again around the tariffs and such. But here, new hands get Bitcoin and they said, okay, if we are buying here and accumulating here, it's for a move up. How high? We don't know. We will analyze. So this was the bottom of this top range, right? And 90k, we have many weeks hunting supply here, right? Liquidations and refueling the next moves up, right? This is the kind of hunting candles wicks that give you some hints, right, of where support can be, right? If in terms of body candles, we have 95.6 pretty much. That's the next key level, but this is a level that must hold, right? It was rejection here and support ever since, rejection here. What has BTC done so far? It bounced yesterday, but the 4 hour chart was very overheated, as we mentioned. And it has come down so far, retesting and bouncing. Thing is, this could keep rolling over, but it can also cool off climbing, right? So when things accelerate, which I posted yesterday, the moment the RSI MA crosses to the upside or the downside, actually, price accelerates. So I wouldn't try to time these daily moves, because unless you're a trader and you know exactly what you're doing, this could just leave you behind and force you to chase higher, right? I remember someone told me when BTC was on the weekend, Sunday, yeah, was perhaps about to lose 84, and I said that if it happened 84, 82 point, I think it was 82, yeah, 82.5, and below it's 81.80, right, where lower time frame supports. And someone said that they have exited waiting for 80k. I said that I didn't see clarity yet. So that is something that many people, me included back then when I first traded more often, that is something, in my opinion, which is very dangerous. When you try to anticipate the move because you think that that way you will get even more, right, from that move. The thing is, if that move doesn't materialize, you are left behind. So if you sold here waiting for 80k, what are you going to do now? Are you going to buy it now? Are you afraid because you know if it will go lower? What if it keeps pumping? Do you buy even higher? But now perhaps you think, it's too high. It needs to come down. That's when chasing happens, right? People who are hesitant end up buying higher, and many of them at the top, right? So I'm not gonna waste more time on this. This is the update. All good. If we switch quickly to the 4-hour, we can see that it has fully reset, which is the bounce that we are seeing here, and it's trying to push again. Very healthy price action, no divergences, just 85. I very overheated. Simple as that. Looking good to me. So I said that we were gonna chart gold, right, in real time. I posted here, I think it was on the 16th of April, right? I posted on the monthly. I mentioned this in the previous video as well. So when I saw this chart both on the daily, the weekly, and the monthly, this was not a chart that I would buy at all. I don't care about the headlines. I don't care about people talking about the strength, because every time an asset is reaching the top, it looks very strong, right? That's why people who are not very experienced or who are not tracking the charts think that's confirmation of a strength. But actually, it's the opposite. That's why people don't buy in a bear market, right? You see people now, oh, okay, I wish BTC went down to 50k or 50k or 30k again. I would buy. Really? Did you really buy the 20k, 15k when everyone was talking that it was scam, it was a failed asset? But experienced traders were accumulating because they knew what they were doing. That's why newbies buy here, because for them this is the confirmation of a strength, and it's actually the end, or very close to. So I didn't think it was ready to keep pushing for much longer. It pushed a little bit. Well, you can see that 9% and has retraced, right? And then it's climbing a little bit. The RSI on the daily is trying to break again, but this is one of the signs that I used, which is something we will also use when BTC and altcoins are looking overheated, right? We have this RSI. This is not the line that I want to use. Historically, right, you can go back to 2022, whatever. Historically, you have this kind of RSI levels, and this cycle in particular, right, it's being rejected here. So I saw several confluence factors. First, this kind of divergence, right? This is an extended divergence when one of the two measured, right, price or indicator, it goes flat, and the other prints a deviation, right? So I saw this on the daily while getting close here, right? You can see that when I posted it, it was here, RSI was still here. So it was printing a divergence here, and I was saying, how much longer? But perhaps this is not enough to make a decision. This is the daily after all. So I go to the weekly, right? I'm gonna remove the joins. Go to the weekly, and I find something similar. I find this historical RSI level on the weekly. Here was 19th August, right? It had a decline from August to December. Yes, you can say that perhaps it wasn't much. Doesn't matter. Are you gonna hold an asset that drops? Yes, just 8% for gold. That's nothing, right? But are you going to hold an asset for all these months? Perhaps you don't think it's enough. Okay, you can hold it. Why not? It's the first overheating sign. Perhaps you wait for a potential divergence. So we could argue that after this bear market, we have the first wave. By the way, Elliott waves are useful. After all, price never moves in a straight line. Very rarely, even in blow-off tops, you have this kind of correction. So Elliott waves are useful, but I think they are very subjective. That's why I don't really use them, right? But you could say wave 1, correction, which is wave 2, wave 3, correction, and wave 5, right? This was COVID crash. And that's the end of the cycle for gold, right? So you can also argue that this was wave 1, 2. See, what do I do now? Is this 3 and 5? Or is this 3, 4 and 5? Right? In hindsight, you can just try to time it. That's why I don't really like them, right? But they can be useful. You have this divergence and a very strong move and a big rally from the bottom, right? So perhaps that was a sign on the weekly. What we have now, it's kind of the same RSI level, while that can't be broken, by the way. Well, it keeps pushing in a very decisive and strong manner, especially from this last impulse move. It reminds me of this, right? We have the correction. I'm not going to count this because this is COVID. We have kind of this correction similar to this. Boom. Final move. No divergences here. Yeah, you can say extended, right? So perhaps this is not enough confluence. Okay, let's go to the monthly. What do we find in the monthly? First, I check the RSI level. And on the monthly, I see this was exactly the top. I mean, this is the monthly, so not exactly the week, right? Again, it's going to be very difficult to precisely time the top. I mean, I said to exit around 300 and something, right? Is it wrong if I have bought here or here and I leave 10% off the top? Is that really a bad move? I mean, it's up to you, but what I see is, yes, no divergence, but I see a blow of top and RSI going even above the top here. We could argue that, yes, this stock RSI still has room for that, and perhaps it still can push a little bit more. But the thing is, all this will probably come down as fast as it went up. Or perhaps it stays here, but these kind of moves are normally unsustainable in the same way for the downside, right? How is it possible to predict these kind of big impulses, right? Because many people think, okay, this is good to perhaps try to top the potential tops or even bottoms, but is it possible to know this is gonna happen? Well, this is the monthly chart, right? I remember Bobby, I don't know if you know him, follow him, he's been very adamant about XRP since the bear market bottom, and charting XRP, building a huge, I'm not really sure if it was a bull flag or a falling wedge, but for years, right? That's why he expected a huge move to come, which, by the way, happened in December. According to him, it's not over. Why do those moves happen? Because it's been in an accumulation for way longer, right? It depends on the time frame you are analyzing. So if I take a look at gold, I see that from this top, you can count the wicks if you want. Let's take the candles, right? But from this top to this bottom, it's been ranging, making a high low, rejected, another high low, while battling to reclaim the RSI, MA. This was from the top in August 20 to the breakout in 23, right? More than 3 years in accumulation. right? This is enough fuel for this kind of move. This is the monthly. That's why the moment it breaks, and you can see here perfectly, it breaks and retests twice. Breaks, holds, fakes below, but that's why this is not only, okay, every time it goes down, it boom, accelerates. You need more confluence, high lows, right? No divergences, no bullish divergences, okay, but high lows, right? Price is king, after all. Indicators just help understand what's going on. Triple support, triple tag of what has been previously a macro-wise 3 years resistance. So if you see this, you can say, okay, this looks very good for continuation. How high? I don't know, but it's above the EMA. Let it run. That's what I said about the weekly breakout we have recently seen in BTC. But by the way, we need to close the week around these prices to confirm the breakout. Otherwise, RSI could easily retrace, right? But the thing is, let it run. For how long? I mean, this is the monthly, so you would let it run for months. This was February 1st, November, little correction, but still above the MA, right? So all good. If you bought here, why not hold? I mean, there is no risk. You can wait for it to break below, right? And perhaps it's a fake out, but if you want to risk a little bit, perhaps it breaks and you can sell here, right? If you want to extend a little bit and hold for a little bit longer because your range is very good, right? So far, from this break and retest above the MA until here, it's been more than a year, right? This is the monthly chart. 3 years in accumulation, boom. 1 year for now running. These kind of wicks look very different, right? You could say, okay, they look similar like to this, right? But these were in the top, of course. RSI wasn't very overheated, right? It was entering, crossing the 70 level, which, by the way, this is something I haven't mentioned, but it's something you should know. Crossing 70 doesn't mean it's overheated in the wrong sense. This is normally bullish territory. This is normally when the big moves happen, right? With the real strong pushes happen, boom, boom, right? Here, hesitation, we break below, above, boom. So this is what we need to chart, right? Depending on the time frame. That's why I like the high time frame. Can you imagine all the ups and downs that gold has been going through here, right? Because we can see them. These candles, these wicks, sorry, represent many ups and downs in the weekly, but we are in the monthly, so we can really see that here, right? That's why if you bet from the higher time frame, you let it run. Now, reaching these levels, I would be out completely. It's still above the price I said. It was overheated and couldn't run for much longer. I would leave. I would rotate to BTC. Why BTC? You have seen my charts, right? This is not the chart that I want. Let me just look for it a second. I don't really know. Yeah, here it is. See? This is the chart we have been discussing for quite some time. Gold BTC ratio. It's time for BTC. Gold is overheated. Gold is almost done, if not done. It's time for BTC to run, right? Let's take a look at DXY. I posted here in November, right? That after these huge, another blow of top by DXY, by the way, again, RSI fading while price keeps pushing. It's a matter of time. When? You don't know. Perhaps you still here. You think you did well. Fuck, it's going up. Now it's going down. Fuck, it's going up again. You don't know, right? It depends on your entry. Perhaps you want to hold for a little bit longer, right? Again, bullish divergence building, strength building for the whole 21. When everybody was super excited, DXY was building strength, boom, because market makers, and this is just my interpretation, my opinion, but big players know what was coming here with inflation. right? Again, oscillators, weekly, telling what's next. But these were many weeks. What if you sold here when you see this? Oh, you missed this. Really? Went back down. That was a good moment. I mean, buy in this case, if you want to buy dollar or sell assets. I mean, this is very clear. So we enter in a distribution or reaccumulation. That's the key. The key difference between distribution and reaccumulation normally is the result, right? But after a drop, when it happens down, it's normally called a reaccumulation for a next move, right? And when they happen at the top, like we will gonna see with BTC in a second, it could be a distribution, right? But what if it's a reaccumulation for another move? That's why you have to go to a higher time frame, right? It's not easy. That's why you have to adapt your strategy to your kind of risk appetite and especially mental health, right? Because if you are gonna suffer watching all these swings because you have taken so much risk, perhaps you have to tone it down a little bit. So I mentioned this, and DXY was reaching the top of this accumulation range, very clear accumulation range, right? No divergences, nothing, but stock RSI in the weekly was getting hot, and I suspected that perhaps this could be the place for RSI to climb a little bit, and perhaps there was two options. I said the red path, break, retest, and go, which would be bad for risk assets because it means money is flowing into DXY, into dollars, and not risk assets, or rejection here and retest of the bottom of the range, right? So what happened? We opened DXY, it took the red path, right? Retested it, but it was a fake out. This candle was the confirmation that, okay, it's a fake out. It's rejected at these levels. It's not intended to go higher. Fake out, deviation. When do you know it's a deviation? When it breaks back down. So you don't know yet. This is why it's not that easy to trade, right? But I pointed here that DXY was turning around right on time, blocked the noise, struck the real signs. Here, it wasn't the daily, right? So this week it went down, retested. I don't care. It was showing weakness. It came inside this box again. RSI breaks here, right? This is what tells me that, okay, this is a fake out. It's losing strength, this move. Otherwise, it would have retested and perhaps pushed another time, right? So it broke below, and as I said, normally when you break below the MA, price accelerates, right? It broke here, it tried a retest, but already below the MA, and boom, price ends up reflecting this drop. And here Usual Media talks about, I'm going to extend it a little bit. Yes, extend it. Talks about DXY dropping here, right? When weekly is down and the stock RSI is really down. This is something that I also wanted to mention, that it doesn't mean that every time you get here, you have a bounce and we are back, and because it depends always on the higher time frame, right? If we go to BTC for a second, all this chop, I'm gonna open the daily. All this daily chop we have here, we're back now. Fuck about what's going on. Why all this happened? And only here with these divergence, we can start thinking that this could be the reversal. Why? Because the higher time frame, the weekly, had already broken. So now you gotta wait for the weekly to find its bottom. And all this is daily fluctuations, daily traps, daily candles to confuse everybody, right? To trap, to liquidate, to chop them out. And when we start finding these daily divergence, we also find a bottom on the weekly, and then we can start thinking about the reversal, right? That's why the daily, to me, only matters for reversals here and reversals here, right, with a double top. That's why it doesn't happen immediately, because the higher time frame is king. But you have the signs here, right? That's why it's very difficult to time the top. Okay, so now on the DXY, we have this big candle, which was rejected by the bottom of this support range. This is indecision, probably caused by all the uncertainties around tariffs. So if we go to the monthly, let's see if we find some clarity. Look at this. The RSIMA here, it was in September, pushed again until December, and we had this rejection, and the moment it broke below, we had huge cascade, right? From 104 to current prices, right? Right now, no divergences. See, there's no divergences here. It wasn't easy to time this, but since I play the weekly, I thought that on the weekly there was enough signs, right? So again, the monthly, you go to the dollar here in September 22. Look at these overheated levels. Yes, no RSI divergence on the monthly, but very overheated. And if we go to the weekly, yes, we have the divergence. So there's always some kind of signs, right? And that's what we have to apply. Is this the time to sell DXY? When I see this? No. You should have sold here. After this failed break. Imagine you bought here, you accumulated here at the bottom. Every time we tapped the bottom, you bought, right? Because you think it's going to break above. Perhaps when it breaks below again, in this candle, you realize, okay, this is a fake out. I'm going to sell. And if it taps the bottom again, I will buy again. Or perhaps wait and see how it reacts, right? That's what we need to apply to our altcoins. So considering gold BTC chart is looking good for continuation, this is not the time to panic, right? And I'm gonna take a quick look to VELO because someone just mentioned that, and this is one of the coins that I have. Again, I think there is not much else to say here. This is the next target, 3.5, 3.6. Again, tapped this top, this resistance, and for now this is the only high time frame that I expect this cycle, and this is too far away, right? But it will probably have some intermediate resistance here, right? But this is the only one I expect, which by the way from these levels would be a 20x, right? So Fibonacci levels, that is something that I have mentioned a few times. Fibonacci levels are very useful because algorithms use them, especially the golden ratio, which is 1.618. So if you use the top and then the bottom, the whole, this is to measure the cycle, right? The whole cycle for this coin. I mean, it's life cycle, right? So you can see if there is some kind of relevant structure, relevant point here, right? In this case, it didn't tap 0.5 like it did here, right? Which is 0.04. It was still away from it. You can say it was rejected here by the Fibonacci level, but it didn't find support here, so rejected here. I mean, it can be useful for targets, but together with confluence. I said that perhaps here it could chop, right? And this is the next important Fibonacci level. So if we get here and it's really overheated, and we tap this could be another big confluence to say, okay, this is perhaps the top or the local top or whatever you want to call it, but an exit point, right? And that's something we use and we should use for coins in price discovery. If I go to BTC, right, I'm going to use a different chart because this is a bit overloaded. This is, by the way, our fractal. It's interesting, still playing nicely. I'm going to open a different exchange, right? So let's use the weekly. because it's going to be clearer, right? So imagine I'm analyzing here in March, right? What's next for BTC? So this is the top for now in that moment, and I'm gonna use it like this, right? And I go to the bear market bottom, and I think, what if we enter price discovery, right? By the way, this rejection here, which was this rejection here as well, became support here, Fibonacci level. Confluence, right? So then we have this pretty much Fibonacci level touched, pretty much front running, almost retesting the previous high. The same kind of a structure here, which is why I said that perhaps we tapped the previous all-time high. And we have the weekly, we have the weekly EMA, which is something you use for higher time frames. Boom, confluence, right? It tagged this, but it closed above. Perfect. So what next? In this case, from Fibonacci, this being the 1.1 and this is 0 in the bottom, the first Fibonacci level was 1, 2, 3, 6. Look at that. So good traders that I've been following also use this when it's in price discovery. The moment you break above this, you say, okay, when can it top, right? And I posted some speculation here. Let me just look for it, because I think I didn't save in any chart. Yes, this is the some Fibonacci speculation, right? From this point, right? If I take this, which is the chart, by the way, we are seeing here, right? I said, what if the first target is 138, because now we are starting from a higher point, right? We make another kind of double top, or if it's a blow of top, we go to the golden ratio, which is 618. This could be a blow of top. Why not? I'm just charting, right? I'm not paying attention to anything else. But these, together with the daily divergences that were forming here, these was BTC. Imagine that BTC was getting here very exhausted, and you find these Fibonacci levels that all the algorithm loves. Another confluence point, at least to take some profit. And when the moment these, if you play the weekly, the moment you lose 90k, which by the way I'm going to use for the next example that I mentioned here, that these could look a bit similar to this one. The moment we lose 90k, that's why it's so important. The door opens, right? For what? For this impulsive move didn't find support in the way up. This was the support here, right? And we created a range together with the weakness we were seeing in the daily. Make you think that this is distribution. Again, here, right, still above 96, 97, we started to see rejections even lower. We couldn't even tap the top again, right? And eventually broke down, right? Held this MA again, which is something you have to in my opinion, use in retracements to know the bull run is still alive or not. If you realize, well, this is a different exchange, so perhaps in another exchange you can see clearer, but the thing is, the bull run is above it. When it's below and rejected, it's a bear market. Once reclaimed, we can say we're back. Even if you buy at 26k after the breakout on resistance, is this a bad place to buy? Is the moment it breaks, let's say, keeps pushing, the moment it breaks, is this a bad place to sell after buying here? I don't think it is. It's a 4x, a little bit more, right? And all you did was buying here and waiting for it to break. 2 trades in the whole cycle, right? So Fibonacci, when coins enter price discovery, are very useful together with all the indicators to try and top and time the potential top, right? Or exits. The thing is, we don't really need to squeeze that little extra 2, 5, 4% because in crypto it's insane, or even at 30, 40, 50%. I don't care. The returns in crypto are insane because the drawdowns are also insane, right? So there is no need to use leverage, in my opinion, and there is no need to hold and pray for it to go higher, and if it goes down, for it to climb back. And you promise yourself that you're gonna sell the next time, but you won't. Trust me. Let me look for the because I want to show you that I mentioned this. This is not a bull hopium kind of profile or account. I'm not like that. I'm not pretending to be just selling hopium. I posted on February, right, when we were at 97, that bears could see this weekly cycle, losing strength, losing the MA and getting rejected. Perfect time to leave if your risk appetite is not very, very high, which, by the way, this is also risk management, to be honest. And I said the bears could see this and think this is a distribution, losing strength, losing the MA, clear range. With distribution and reaccumulation normally have these patterns, right? Big drops, big range to chop people, to make them think we are back, to make them think it's over, bam, 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 buying, selling, getting liquidated, whatever, right? The monthly chart back then was still different because it wasn't too hot, although it eventually crossed variously, which is something I don't really like. And I said if support holds, we're good. Support was this 95, 90, 90.5. We lost it. So we opened the door for this, at least for this week. And if it didn't hold, for the candles, for the whole body candles. Why? Because this impulsive move could be filled down, same way it did here. One support here, and then in summer we did the same thing, right? So this was something we could and we should bear in mind. And this is something I will say and share when the time comes. Some people told me or asked me months ago when VELO was pushing that, which was my target, right? And I think I have closed it unintentionally. Let me just look for it, because I don't want to be or pretend that I'm one that knows what's gonna happen, because no one knows, or that I claim that I knew back then. So I'm gonna show the pictures and the charts. Back in February, this was the resistance, but this compression would eventually break, and considering we were making high lows and the market was strong here, and not only VELO, if BTC decided to roll over, this would roll over as well. I mentioned these, if it breaks, these are the immediate targets because of this, right? This is a very crowded place or target area, right? This was the next one. It has some intermediate level at around 10 cents. What happened next? Double tap, right? It bounced initially from here, but it kept retesting the November lows. And what happened with this double tap? A bearish divergence. So we have a double top with a bearish divergence and half time frame at a very traded or high time frame resistance. I think this is textbook get out of the market signal, right? That's why I believe that even if we chop around here, right, this Fibonacci level, I'm gonna remove the Fibonacci for now. This is the next high time frame target. And it's not because I want it to happen again, because I promised myself that I would sell and I'm trying to convince myself that this is going to happen. No, this is what I see. This is a new range, supported here, rejected here, deviated here, which I posted back here. Why I believe this was a deviation? Because there was a bullish divergence building. This is a trap, right? The same way this double top was a trap, these weeks were a trap, right? In fact, I didn't want to believe it, and I'm not gonna pretend I did, but these kind of daily candles, daily swings, this looked like a distribution to me, and there was a bearish divergence, right? Back then, I just de-risked just a little bit because I thought, okay, perhaps my entry is around 15, right? 16, something like that. I don't remember exactly. But the thing is, I should have de-risked more, but I thought, okay, what if it keeps pushing, right? And builds another database. So that was taking a lot of risk, but my entry and the amount of money I put it in allowed me to do that. Thing is, was a 73% drop. Is it worth it though? Imagine you sell and everything keeps pumping. Just wait for the next correction, whenever it is, but you have all your money. The thing is that your greed is gonna tell you that you could have taken more out of the market, and until you really lose or you leave your own money on the table and you suffer a drawdown, that's when you realize, okay, it's not worth it, because you can spend months like we have spent. Imagine you bought here because you thought, yeah, you see ridiculous charts like, oh yeah, VELO, boom, breaks, hit, bam, bam, bam. Yeah, I make up all this. You see this by an account with 50,000 people, and yeah, and I did this next all-time high next, and you're not ready for what comes after breaking this. Yeah, whatever, man. Keep ignoring the signs. Yes, because this is what people want to believe, and that's what gets traction and attention, right? One step at a time. This is a huge move. This is a 10x pretty much from these. Do you think a 10x comes with these overheated levels, man? No. Or you can I don't know, lie yourself to yourself and go to the monthly and say, but in the monthly, wow, look at the monthly, man. It's still very far from overheated. Yeah, cycle wise, it isn't overheated. Weekly wise, you have to go to the weekly. You can suffer a lot until you if you wait for that, and you can leave so much money on the table. Which, by the way, the monthly look how it looks. Looks like many acceptance and accumulation wicks here, while about to reclaim the EMA with a bullish divergence here with the stock RSI. This is a coin I would let run, absolutely, right? And there was someone mentioning, I don't remember the name. I'm sorry right now. Fartcoin, right? If it was going to be one of those shitcoins that retrace hard back in December. Everybody was memeing about the hot air rises when everything was dumping, right? Here in January, it keeps going up. Yeah, absolute new meme. That's the move, the play, right? Let's take a look. We have in November overheated levels, right? It corrected. First, where is divergence here? Just correct it a little bit. Boom, another divergence here. Correct it a little bit. If you hold this and you don't exit, you're being given many opportunities, right? You have these, final drop 50%, and you can argue, okay, right, now there is no divergence. We are back. And then what happened? Boom, right? Imagine holding here because hot air rises. And now it's back again. It's these kind of moves. It's like if you've been lucky to buy this shit and it keeps pumping them, just get out when you think it's when you have enough, because these kind of coins are manipulated a lot. They're used to scam people. I'm charting them. I mean, it's not like very organic price action. I remember back in March 24, the hat stays on. That was the meme, right? Everybody was chasing here. The hat stays on. Wow, look at this week. We're going to the moon. Yes, absolutely, right? And then you had this perfect double top, right? This week, Memes are memes. Write them, sell them, move on, right? Because I remember, I'm not gonna mention the exact accounts. They were shilling the shit out of this. And by the time they shield, they have positioned themselves. They have opened their positions. You chase, you make them make money. They dump on you. They will tell you it's just a correction, and you will eat shit for quite some time. And when you think it's fucking over, they will dump. They will pump it again. 93% drop since November, man. This is insane. Not only did it didn't pump together with the rest of the market, it fucking dropped hard. Right? And this has been building bullish divergence, but again, look how much lower it went, 50%, until it materialized and started climbing up. And from the bottom, it's being at 77%. When it's a bit higher, they will say we're back. But look at this. This is way below the launch price. What is this? So write memes, but just dump them when you get some decent returns, right? So final chart that I'm gonna pay attention to, BTC dominance, which, as you know, it's our reference, right? The last time I mentioned this, I used the Fibonacci extensions, right? Which, in my opinion, added confluence for potential resistance level. And it's interesting that so far on the daily, BTC dominance, right, with these bearish divergence still building, bounced of this Fibonacci extension. The thing is, as we know, it's really toying with this divergence and with the EMA that for now is still holding. But this could look very easily, as I said a few times, I don't care if it wicks, but this could very easily end just in a simple deviation here, and it rolls over, right? But you will know that in hindsight, sorry. So if you go to the weekly, we can remove this. You go to the weekly, yes, it's above. Imagine the weekly close below, and this is a wick that goes through this, but it didn't close below. It doesn't need a big drop for that. 0.3. The various divergence is still in play. We are going to use this as an example, right? Imagine with all these all the videos I have recorded so far from, let's say, April, when you see this rejection, you see the various divergence forming. Also on the daily, you have seen this monstrous run from the bottom, right? Would you hold this for much longer? What's your target? Fibonacci wise, do you think it goes to 73, which is the next big level? Will you hold it? Just would you risk holding to, I don't know, 67? 70% perhaps? Would you risk holding this for just a little bit more when it can, and it looks like it's going to roll over any time now, perhaps when BTC stops moving, and it could be in a few weeks, right? BTC, I don't know, BTC could reach, if it reaches new all time, it's going to accelerate, and it might hit 120, 130, I don't know, late May, early June. That's a few more candles, and perhaps those candles are not even climbing. They're just doing this, boom, right? And many people might say, okay, but this is bad, man. It keeps climbing when my coins are dropping. What is this, right? When are they going to move? Okay, I'm going to compare BTC dominance with total 3, right? Which, by the way, is already here. Total 3 is just on the altcoins without BTC and Ethereum, right? So if we take a look, I'm going to remove the Fibonacci. If we take a look at the September bottom for BTC here, right? we can see that BTC dominance was rising, right? This is the, I'm gonna show BTC as well, right? So BTC, this is the bottom in September, started rising together with BTC dominance, right? Total 3 altcoins were just chopping, even making a lower low, while BTC pushed, right? The moment the BTC dominance dropped, started dropping, right? And BTC found here the first, the top formation, total 3 shots up a lot with just this small drop. If I go to the daily, I think we can see it more clearly, right? So you can see BTC climbing together with BTC dominance. A little drop from BTC dominance allows, look at this, all this small drop, right, in price and dominance makes total 2 climb back up. And the moment it really tanks, we have the final push. So if we take a look at what's doing now, we see the first initial push after the summer was total 2 dropping, people rotating from altcoins to BTC. What do we have now? BTC dominance climbing, BTC climbing. We had this initial drop, which, by the way, BTC was still finding its place, its bottom. But total 2 is also climbing. Everything is climbing. That's why I said in the last video that this means not a rotation from altcoins to BTC. This is new money coming to the market. In my opinion, that's how I see it. That's how you see alts pushing a little bit the last few days. Actually, I'm gonna use Pepe again as an example, right? This is not the chart that I want to use. If I use Pepe as an example, which by the way I posted here, that perhaps a good move was brewing because it was getting close to this MA and it broke. And since then, yeah, 50%, 60%. This is not an altcoin retracing, right? And this was from April 7th. If I open the BTC chart, April 7th, I'm gonna go to the daily. April 7th, here, BTC has climbed, of course. That's why everything is pushing, right? 25%, Pepe just a 50% move. I don't see Pepe going down, going sideways. In fact, it's outperforming BTC the same way it happens to the downside, right? That's why new money is coming in. That's how I see it. Otherwise, it would be going down while BTC goes up. It means there is the same money in the market and it's just rotating, right? So let it all run. Everything looks good. We will have plenty of time to exit the market after a big move. Don't think we will be able to time the perfect exit. Follow your strategy. If you decide to sell when your indicators tell you to do that, don't look back, right? Because you're gonna open trading view again. You're gonna see that after a week or a few days it keeps pushing, and perhaps you think, "Fuck, I sold earlier." If you doubt, it's because you don't have a strategy, right? But if you have a strategy, even like I said with gold, right? Let me open it for a second. Same way I say with gold here, right? It kept pushing. Yes, I don't care. My strategy told me to get out, which, by the way, we have these candles, these wicks. These are not the kind of keep going up candles. Where have you seen these candles? This formation, this perfectly blow off top move, right? You haven't seen these kind of wicks anywhere in the uptrend, right? What do they sign? Potential reversals together with all the oscillators we have seen. So if my strategy tells me here, okay, this looks overheated, I don't care if I miss this. If I see this huge candle, fuck, perhaps still have so much to go. Really? After this? It's just lying to yourself, right? Because you want to be constantly in the market. That's something that I learned the hard way. You don't always need to be in the market. Absolutely not. You should manage your risk according to your risk appetite, and then be ready to buy the blood, as they say, right? That's what big players do. That's what we try to copy in a downtrend, right? To get ready for the next push and do the same thing. And then what do? We buy the next shitcoin that's been shielded, small cap, because if it goes, I don't know, 5x, I can turn I keep compounding. And I mean, follow your strategy, block the noise, because you are going to be tempted a lot. It's going to be hard. So I think the time to block the noise starts now, because it's gonna be way worse. I posted here. I don't remember. I can find it now. I posted that we're gonna see big posts about why this coin is revolutionary, why the new run is here, why we are back. Look, do you remember the memes in the meme season back in Solana or in Coinbase? They will talk about that. They will mention that, right? Perhaps it's because I'm looking at here. Let me look for it for a second. Yes, I posted it in April, right? Can't wait for shit to pump again and read tremendous threads about why XYZ is a revolutionary coin that can 100x in the coming weeks, blah, 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 blah. If it's too late to buy the new meme, blue chip. I mean, this is ridiculous. These kind of terms are just fucking trap. Then the fact that they call it blue chip makes you think that they are safe bets. This is crypto. Even BTC isn't safe, right? So why do people think their shitcoin is gonna just be? This is just greed and euphoria, where you're feeling that you can make it, that it's gonna be huge, and then you're gonna rotate into BTC and this is gonna keep going forever. Again, this is the time, and the previous months and weeks we have had all the times for building a strategy, resilience, and to block the noise when the time comes, because it's really hard. That's why we didn't sell, or pretty much no one sold in December. I mean, if it looks so obvious now, why didn't we really risk? Because we were reading about 120k, 140k by mid-January, early February, top in Q1, because one fractal says we're gonna top in Q1, right? Which, by the way, I mentioned that I think this is the post January, right? I first thought that Q4 24, Q1 25 was the top, not anymore after seeing price action. This is, to me, this wasn't the price action. Was back still on 96, right? So now, 4 year. It doesn't mean it has to be a 4-year cycle, but to me, the top wasn't in, right? Look at the monthly previous cycles, right? On where we are now. This was the March top, and this was the top here, right? In December. To me, this is not the real top. Why? Because greed never ends, because big players are gonna squeeze the markets until the last cent, because that's what they do. And cycles repeat because people are greedy, blind, and they lie to themselves. And that's good, because that allows you to sell relatively high, to buy relatively low, and keep compounding. And for that, you need to create euphoria, the sense that we are finally safe, that we are finally back, because this whole bull market, which I think it's a perfect execution by market makers, they have made you believe, all of us, that it was all pending and hanging by a thread, by every headline, by every CPI print, what oil is doing, what DXY is doing, what Trump is doing, China says. Wall of worry. The thing is, it has climbed like 5x. People in Sama were saying that we won't see 90k this cycle. Forget about that. Yeah. A couple of months later, the same people were shilling fucking memes. They don't know nothing. No one knows shit on what's gonna happen. The thing is, this is something that I'm still betting on. Euphoria. Insane levels. Every noob making temporary and paper gains. That's the confidence they build. This is like a casino. You play some money, you start gaining and winning something, you become overconfident, and then you round trip it all, right? But to round trip it all, first they have to make you believe that you're winning, that you're controlling your emotion, that you know what you're doing, and you keep pushing because you're in control, but you're not. You're just greedy, but you don't know yet. You will realize later when it drops and you back hold and you think it's a fucking scam, and you sell it here to more intelligent hands that will repeat the cycle. That's my bet. Anyway, I play these weekly cycles, because so far I think that's the safest bet. And until everything changes, perhaps we enter a final blow of top, I will keep adapting, because you can just run an idea like this and say, okay, hold until the top. I hold until the top. Yes, you're basing future actions on past behaviors. That's a mistake. If it were that easy, everyone would make it, right? So we need to accept that that's not the case. Anyway, it's been a long video. I have touched on different topics. I hope you get some good conclusions out of this. I'll catch you later. Bye.